Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendez. Hope you guys are all well on your Sunday morning. Today, we'll be looking back at yesterday's 3-1 defeat up at the league leaders, Coventry City. Joining me to do that, first up, top right, is Paul Clements. How you doing, Paul?
Morning, Louis. Morning, Ben. Morning, fellow addicts. Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling more encouraged than I was this time last week. I think it's fair to say. And my eyes are no longer behind my hands, creeping through my fingers. I'm looking forward to the upcoming weeks after some really tough fixtures recently. So, yeah, looking forward to getting into it today. Cheers.
Yeah, some huge games coming up as well, isn't it? But yeah, also bottom of the screen there, with his Christmas tree in place, is Ben Cloak. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, good morning, mate. Yeah, I was quite surprised with that tree, actually. I had nothing to do with it. Came in last night, watched the film and forgot it was there. Yeah, I feel the same as Paul. Feel better than last week. But we still lost 4 in a row now, so we can't feel too good, but can we? But I'm sure we'll try and find some positive spins to put on that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good bits about yesterday. Obviously, still things to improve, as Ben mentioned there. It's a 4th defeat on the spin. We did have the lead up at Coventry, but we end up with a 3-1 loss. We're going to hear the highlights. We're going to hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're also going to hear from Conor Coventry as well, who's making his homecoming yesterday, of course, in Coventry. Not he's ever. I don't think he's had any actual ties to Coventry other than it's his name, but I'm sure we can have a lot of fun with that. We want to hear from you guys as well. Morning to everyone joining us in the chat. Jay says, morning all. Remember where we've come from and the budgets we're up against. Portsmouth next week, as tradition dictates. Hopefully that's where this losing run will end. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game. You can email us studio@charltonlive.co.uk. You can tweet us at Charlton Live, or you can add a live comment in the chat. Give us your thoughts on yesterday. Where did it get away from us a little bit? How big was the loss of Amari Bell midway through the first half as well? Because I think for my view, that was pretty huge to the outcome of the game, because I thought we'd started really well. But there we go. Let us know your thoughts. Paul, just before we hear the goals back, 1-0 up, Harvey Nibbs with his second goal of the season. Had some real chances on the counter-attack. I mean, there was this really lively sort of 5-minute spell in that second half where we had a few chances to double our lead, and Bell might have been sent off as well, but he wasn't. And then a few minutes later, he goes off injured. And that's where it sort of changed for me. Like, we always knew it was going to be a tough game, but I took quite a lot of encouragement from some of the aspects of the performance yesterday.
Yeah, likewise, Louis. I took a lot of encouragement out of yesterday's performance, because it felt like we got Nathan's Charlton team back in many respects after a couple of back-to-back defeats. And I'm going to discount Wrexham from it, because I thought there was quite a lot. It was quite even, that game. That was a bit unlucky at the end of the day. But the previous 2 games prior to Coventry, I really just didn't think that we were ourselves, and I was quite getting a bit concerned about it. Yesterday, I think most fans went into the game with an expectation that we would likely lose just because of the form Coventry are in, and they're a standout side in the Championship right now. So we kind of went into the game with that mentality, and I think a lot of people that I saw on forums and stuff expected us to get absolutely spanked, and we didn't. And we were really plucky, and we really put up a good show throughout the game. a bit less so after the Bell substitution. I think it's fair to say, as you've alluded to already, that was a bit of a game changer in some respects. But we kept going and we just appeared more at it. We appeared more solid at the back compared to the previous games. We were more organised, and despite the formation tweaks that were going on in the game, it just felt more comfortable. We gave a real good account of ourselves, and I thought that spell in the first half where we had the chances on the break were excellent. It was just a bit unfortunate that Tanto couldn't finish his. He needed to look for the corners rather than a bit down the middle. And TC, that lad, I pray that he gets a goal in the next game or two, because he tries so hard and he's been a bit unlucky so far this season with not notching his first league goal yet. So he needs a goal, but it was a shame that he flashed that wide. Great defending from Coventry as well, from the Lloyd Jones header from the corner in that spell. So loads of things to take positivity from ahead of this next run of important 6 games in December. So yeah, as I say, a lot more encouraged than I was earlier in the week.
Yeah, massive month coming up, isn't it, for the Addicts? Right, let's have a listen back to the goals from yesterday on Charlton TV. Brownie was alongside Greg and Terry.
Towards the edge of the Coventry City penalty area. It's a flick on from Jones. It might drop Campbell's way. It does. Can he get a shot away? Campbell, he does. Second shot comes in, and it's there. The Addicts and Nibs have opened the scoring after 12 minutes. Flighted ball into the box. Jones got the crucial header. It dropped to Campbell. There was a little melee after Campbell tried to get his shot away. Then he managed to get one away. It was blocked. It dropped to Nibs, who turned and pounced into the right-hand corner. And the Addicts take a 1-0 lead after 12 and a half minutes.
Yeah, and off they go and celebrate in front of a very, very healthy set of away travelling supporters. And we just said, didn't we, about loading the box. You get the first contact. They didn't cover themselves in glory. Coventry there with strength defensively. Campbell gets a little shot away, little deflection, and that's when you need that little bit of luck, and it just drops into the path beautifully of Nibs on the half volley, and it's a very calm and composed finish. It's a half volley. He opens up his body to stroke it to the goalkeeper's left, Nibs is right, and it finds the back of the net, and off they go celebrating.
Mason Clark will take over, drifts inside as well, looks for the ball to talk. It's Eccles instead, and Eccles opens his body up and gives Coventry the equaliser. A run from Mason Clark opened the space up for Eccles, and Coventry show their class, get an equaliser.
Yeah, again, and I know I said it just moments ago, but I'm not keen on Alafe being dragged back into defensive positions. Not sure he does enough, but you wouldn't expect him to do much. He is by and large and by trade a centre forward, and he gets beat very, very easily. And once he skips past Alafe, this is the knock-on effect that has, is then Coventry leaves his man to try and make a challenge. That then goes to Coventry's man, which is Eccles, and he's allowed to take a touch and open up and finish. And that's what happens with the old domino effect when someone doesn't do their job quite right, and that's what we've just witnessed there, which is a shame. But I think that injury to Bell has had a huge impact on the game.
To take the corner. Everyone pretty much pinned in the 6-yard box. That's where the ball goes. Decent looking delivery, there's a header from Sims. And Coventry take the lead. Sims rose highest. And after Charlton's brilliant start, it's now Coventry who find themselves ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where I think the man marking behind thinks the man in front's going to get a little jump and head it clear. Man behind can't climb over the top of Sims, so he gets stuck. Kaminsky's stuck. And you need the front man to try and rise above and win that header, and it doesn't come. And then once Sims makes contact, you know that's finding the back of the net. But it's, I mean, look at that. There's 17 players inside that 6-yard box, and it's a wicked delivery put into a fantastic area. But I think we've got to do a little bit more in front, and we've got to be a little tighter behind.
And he picks out Mason Clark on the left side of the penalty area. Mason Clark cuts back in, back to Redone. He takes a shot off the post and in. Came off the post, I think Sims it was. Distance from here, Sims certainly finished it. Mason Clark back to Redone. Was it a block or did it? Yeah, it was a decent save for Kaminski's feet from a deflection. Sims on hand to add the third for the home side.
Yeah, and that's all they were looking for really, was to kill the game, take the sting out of it and look for one or two opportunities to get that cushion of a 2-goal lead, and they've got it here, and we'll see the double change. But yeah, look, once Mason Clark comes back on that right foot, he goes from left to right, sells a couple of dummies, which forces us to go a bit deeper, and then sets Radoni. You have to come out and charge. It hits Coventry on the shoulder, which sends it the opposite way than Kaminski's dive, and he does well to actually make contact with his feet, and then it's in the lap of the gods where it goes, and it falls straight to Sims, and we're 3-1 down.
There we go. That's the highlights from Charlton TV yesterday. The goals in the 3-1 defeat up at Coventry City. Ben, well, what's your view on the whole game before I sort of go into specifics? I'm quite curious as to how you saw it, because yeah, I felt one of the things that surprised me a little bit yesterday is, I mean, I came out of it feeling, disappointed we lost, and I think a couple of the goals, particularly the second one, you're going to be disappointed with that, and we'll talk about the manner of the goal. But overall, I think we were likely to lose yesterday, and even if we played our full strength side, playing at our very best, that was always a hugely difficult game. So the fact we got a performance and something, reaction from the last two, which were really quite concerning, I was clinging on to that. But then I don't know, when I went on the forum and read the post match, a lot of people seem quite upset still, and I don't know if that was just the rawness of the fact that we've lost 4 in a row, but I don't know. I took some positives from yesterday, which made me the fear that we were going into a death spiral over the last couple of weeks. That performance yesterday sort of lessened that for me.
Yeah, I'm totally in the same camp as you and as Paul. Echo the words Paul said, really. I think in that first 40 minutes before we concede, we looked brilliant. It was an end-to-end game. I mean, there was a spell where it was like a 3-minute spell where I think we had a great chance. They went up the other end, they had a great chance. And then I think we had another great chance with Tanto when he shot straight at the keeper. So it wasn't as if we were sat back and they were piling on the pressure. I know they had the possession, but we were, in that first half, it was end-to-end football, and we had some really good chances. So I took a lot of positives from that, because obviously our 2 first half performances against Stoke and Southampton were abysmal, and our confidence would have been so low after that. So to turn up at the league leaders and really go at them, I took a lot of positivity from that. And I think, as we all know, it all went downhill when Amari Bell was injured, and obviously Brownie mentions in that goal with Alafe playing out of position, that really threw us, didn't it? Which was a massive shame for us, because we did look really good. I'm not saying we would have gone on to win, because Coventry scores so many goals and it's such a massive attacking threat. But we were in the game. We were looking good. Our press was good. I thought our press was really good. I thought Tanto spearheaded that. Balls over the top, him just getting us up the pitch a little bit, nicking a few throw-ons and that, just alleviating the pressure that they were putting on us. I thought shape was good. This new little formation we came up with Nibs pressing really high as well. I thought the changes that Jones made to the squad with bringing in Nibs and obviously Bell coming in, I thought that really helped us yesterday, and I did feel encouraged. I thought, cool, this is looking good, something different, especially as the confidence was low. And obviously we'll go on to talk about the goals, but yeah, that injury for Bell in the 30th minute, him coming off and bringing on Lieber, it just disrupts our whole shape, doesn't it? Our press, players then playing out of position, and that really rocked us.
Yeah, I was when I saw Amari Bell go down, I was just gutted, because everything was right, everything was going how it needed to go. I thought tactically it just looked perfect, the way we started off. So I mean, I'd call it maybe a 4-2-3-1 at the start yesterday. I know we always play quite fluid formations, so sometimes it's sort of hard. But I thought, Alafe was sort of on his own up top. Bree was so far advanced. I had him as part of the 3 with Nibs and Tyrese Campbell, Coventry and Carey sitting back with that back 4 and Bell at left back. Coventry were always going to try and create, and they had a couple of half chances, nothing major in the first 10 minutes or so. Kaminsky made a save from a header, and Torp fired one over from the edge of the box. And then when we get that lead, Paul, all of a sudden you're thinking, right, well, we have got something to cling on to there, and it's great. It's great for Harvey to be off the mark. I think that's important. You know, his first goal since the opening day. It's been a while. It's been a while for him, but actually, I thought he looked all right in spells yesterday. Obviously, he had to go off at half time injured, as you'll hear later on in the interview with Nathan. But he had his goal. The ball through for Tanto was quite well measured when he fired at the keeper. That was a better chance than I realised. So I watched it back. I was like, actually, that was more central than I realised. But yeah, great for him to be off the mark. And all of a sudden, you sort of dreaming, aren't you? Thinking, right, what can we actually do here?
Yeah, without a doubt. That's certainly how I saw it and how I felt yesterday. Yeah, I think it is such a shame that Bell came off and the personnel were disrupted, because up to that point, you mentioned Tanto there with his chance, but what was so effective early on was the communication between Tanto and Nibs. So I think Tanto's pressing and spatial awareness between the defensive players was limiting them more than when we had to make that change and Lee Byrne came on. And I think that was a huge disruption, but credit to Nibs, because, you know, he's still a young player as well. Lots of games he's played thus far, but he's still a young player. And I just felt he had a real leadership role up front. You could see him talking and pointing constantly with Tanto in terms of the players that between them they were picking up and closing down space for Coventry on. So that was really good and really encouraging. And I think that he was dictating that. He got his goal, which was a really composed finish. I mean, really composed finish when it broke to him. And yeah, he was a bit of a loss as well going off. That was unfortunate. I think Doc had a better game when he came on yesterday, but I'm hoping, and I don't know what the extent is. I'm sure none of us know what the extent of his knock yesterday was, just because of the way in which Nathan keeps his card so close to his chest around injuries. But I hope that he's in and around it, because finally he got he got a start. He got minutes. He seemed really up for it, and as I say, he looked really commanding. So he gave us something different yesterday against the top side in the league. So fingers crossed he's back quite soon and can go against Portsmouth. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully he will be. Could have been two. You know, Lloyd Jones header off the line. I think Kaminsky had made a really good save from the Bobby Thomas header from a corner as well. So then we had this mad spell. So we had Lloyd Jones header off the line. I feel like we had something else, and they immediately went down the other end and pumped it over the top where Bell may or may not have been sent off, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Then Alafe had that chance on the counter attack. Then there was the TC ball. TC was just eating up ground yesterday in that before we had to make the change, it was set up perfectly for TC to be sort of involved again and show what he can do, which is stretch teams. And he nearly set up one for Alafe, and you know, nearly has been the word quite a lot this season with TC, but you know, there was encouraging signs again yesterday. But yeah, a massive changing point in the game when Amari Bell had to go off. Mark said we looked so much better set up in the 4-5-1 with Nibs pulling the string, swapping Bell for Lee Byrne and going back to 5-3-2, killed any creativity. Spending 60 minutes sitting back against Coventry is dangerous. So that's why, I mean, I had my head in my hands when Amari went off, Ben, because it was like this was working, and Amari's been a big part of what we've been good at so far this season, and letting players play in their position. Because then when Miles comes on, immediately you're thinking, right, well, he's not got the legs to be in the free behind the striker, but also the way the game was stretched and we were counter-attacking with pace, he's not got the legs for that either. He's got elements of his game that he can do, but I just don't think the way the game was set up for him yesterday really worked. So therefore, we've taken Tanto out of the front line and he's a bit further back, and he's got to do the defensive side, which as Brownie said, isn't necessarily his forte. You've got TC all of a sudden not looking as lively because everything's just shifted over, and it just didn't work, and that was huge for us. It's like, soon as that happened, you thought that is so annoying, because honestly, I think if we'd been able to keep Amari Bell for the whole game, I really think we would have had a chance of getting something there yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's been our downfall the last few games, not having him in the squad. Obviously, the Wrexham game that he didn't play in, and we're playing players out of position like Hernandez and yesterday it was all set up really well. And I thought, as you so rightly said, that when you lose Tanto in that position and you bring on Lieburn, it just totally is a different dynamic of the game. And it takes a while for the players to readjust as well, because I thought we were playing some lovely balls over the top just to get the whole team up there, because Tanto was a real nuisance for him yesterday. I mean, you mentioned his chance there. I just thought, I mean, they were calling for everything a foul yesterday, Coventry fans, but the way the ref let it play on and he won the ball and got stuck in and then ran through on goal, and yeah, he should do better. Reminded me of his chance against Ipswich in that first half, but he was a nuisance, and Nibs was there backing him up. And as you said, TC's getting a lot of hate online and people saying, why is Jones still playing him? But I think if you look at that first half an hour when players are played in their right position, he was a nuisance for him as well. I mean, as you said, that cross, we nearly got there. Okay, nearly. We're talking about TC, who's not featured in goals at all in a long time, but he's not playing in his right position a lot of the time either. And you think last season we had the threat of someone like Thierry Small, that defenders focused a lot on him because him and TC did similar roles. They actual players that run at defences. They take the ball and run. And I think people forget, without TC in the team, we haven't got anyone else that really does that, apart from Carey, who does it in the middle. But you need players on the wings to drag our team up the pitch, nick a throw here and there, like take some time out of the game. And yeah, he was doing that in the first half. And as you said, when Lieburn came on, Tanto then goes to right wing back or right, like to help Bree back him up there. And that was the case for the goal, wasn't it? I think he kind of got stuck. Two of them were marking one man. Mason Clark has some space, comes across goal. Everyone shifts across. And then Eccles, great finish by him, by the way. Really good guided finish into the corner. Kaminski has no chance with that. And you just think, there you go. It's disrupted our shape already. And then, yeah, to get a double hammer blow before half time, he kind of heads go down there. And that's where I think we all feel disappointed that we've conceded 2 in 5 minutes again. And our mindsets as fans are like, how on earth are we going to come back from this?
So a lot of the debate on the forum when I was reading it yesterday was maybe someone else could have come on instead of Lieburn. So I don't know if Sai is saying maybe it should have been Apter yesterday, or if he was one of the options yesterday. So if it wasn't to be Lieburn to come on at that point, Paul, I mean, which way would you have gone? If people didn't feel that was the right one, I'm interested to know what would have been the right one yesterday, because I just can't quite. I personally couldn't picture it. Like I'm saying that Miles coming on in that shape took some stuff away from us. I'm not saying it was definitely it was a great substitution for us, but also looking at what we had available. I mean, who else comes on for Amari Bell and changes the game in the way that, or keeps the game, I guess, in the way it was going for us?
Right, I've got a couple of ideas, but I'm no Nathan Jones, right? Let me just put it out there. So I'll give you my thoughts on what I think and why I was surprised that Lieburn came on. With the 4 that we were playing at the back, having seen, I thought Ramsey, when he switched against Stoke, was actually quite effective at left back, despite it's not his favoured foot. He was actually pretty solid, I thought, in general, earlier in the week. So I personally would have put Ramsey out there at left back, and either, well, you have 2 options. You can either drop Bree into the right back spot, which we know he can play, or you could have put Rankin Costello in there. And I say that because all the chatter when we signed him was that he'd had quite a lot of games for Blackburn and been successful in that position. So I personally, I was actually quite surprised when I saw Lieburn stripping off, just because we were playing really effectively with the one up front supported by Nibs, and then what was happening with Bree and TC down the sides. As soon as we put Tanto out there on the left, he did look a bit like a fish out of water at times, particularly when he was needing to defend. You could see position, he was looking around himself, but the movement, it seemed like he was stuck in on the spot on a few occasions. I'm not blaming him for that, by the way. That is not his position. It's like you know, square pegs in round holes again, unfortunately, because of this injury crisis. But I would have thought that maintaining the formation that we started with, which was working so effectively, and making that adjustment might have served us better, just because of how effective, and we just mentioned it earlier, the front pairing of Nibs and Tanto was up front, which was really working well to close down their forwards. They just had a really good dynamic about them. So that is prospectively what I would have done in hindsight. But I say in hindsight, and Jones knows what he's doing. He thought that would be the right idea. And I'm sure thought that rather than launching over and utilising the pace, would leverage Lee Byrne's height and strength to kind of get the ball and then lay it off. It was a slight tactical tweak, I'd imagine. But yeah, that's probably what I would have had to go at doing differently, just because I think it just disrupted us too much by putting Lee Byrne on because of the other things that had to happen with the team to try to make it work.
Yeah, no, like I say, I think when Lee Byrne came on, it definitely didn't work in the way it was working in the first part. But yeah, some people are putting some ideas. So Mark saying Bree should have moved to right back, Ramsey over to left back, and then we could have had Apter at right wing and kept the shape. So similar ideas to you. Deputy Dan says Hernandez looked a threat when he came on. He did. I thought he had a couple of moments, but obviously the game was gone by then, unfortunately. Yeah, some interesting stuff. We've been joined by a Coventry fan as well, and this is just to sum up. What have we said all season? Every single opposition fan always mentioned Tyrese Campbell. So he says yesterday, Charlton was strong going forward. Campbell is so quick. I think every time we play a side, they can sense that he's got a threat to him. But I think because we've seen him every week, we're now saying, right, that nearly has to become an action now. Like, he's close, but it can't be close all season. It's got to be at some point. It's got to be the assist and it's got to be the goal. But yeah, I'm not surprised that opposition fans can sense his threat. So yeah, interesting stuff. So you spoke about the first goal, Ben. It was a lovely little finish in the end. I think Tanto getting done, dragged us out of position, and that was that. The second goal from the corner. So I said at half time, I think they're targeting Kaminsky because he doesn't come off his line, so they were able to put it quite close to him. There's a good header by Ellis Sims. With the Bell potential red card yesterday as well, I mean, Nathan Jones was shouting at Kaminsky after because he just stayed glued. He was absolutely glued to his line. Like, he had to come out and ease the pressure. So there's a couple of strange ones for him yesterday, whilst he also made 2 or 3 decent saves as well. Like the header from Bobby Thomas was a great save. The one that ended up in the third goal I thought was quite a good save. He was unfortunate there. So sort of a mixed afternoon for him, really. But yeah, disappointed to concede any goal from set piece. It's not all going to be on the goalkeeper, of course. You know, you want someone to win your header at your near post as well. But that was the last thing you want, really. When you have let in a goal after some really good attacking play from Coventry. I think Efren Clark's build up in the first goal was impressive as well to get beyond Tanto. But you can't set piece goals. Like Nathan would hate that, you know, as fans as well. I mean, they're going to happen all every now and then, but it's annoying when you go away to a side that scores so freely in open play that you give away a set piece one. You think that they're the sort of ones you can control a bit better.
Yeah, just really annoying that we had so many players around him. I mean, if you look at the goal, I mean, he was so outnumbered, but he's the one that wins the header and puts it in. So I can understand, like, as a manager there, what do you do? What do you say? You've practiced that all week. Obviously, we are susceptible from crosses, as it showed against Stoke. So they're obviously going to target that with Kaminsky sticking on his line. Obviously, he had that mad moment against Stoke, didn't he, when he ran off his line and Sorba Thomas nearly headed it past him from the edge of the box. And yeah, we saw the threat come with their corner just before that, where it was a good save. It was a hard header at him. But yeah, I think it was at him. If he would have let that in, we would have been a bit disappointed. But the reflexes were good to tip it over the bar rather than to tip it back into the 6-yard box. But yeah, really disappointing goal because it's again conceding 2 goals in the space of a few minutes, and our whole heads go down then as a fan base and as players, because it just keeps happening at the moment. We don't concede 1, we concede 2 in quick succession. And as you said, like from a corner where it's come in, and we've got numbers there, we've got the height, we've got the numbers, and he didn't really have to move much, did he? I don't know if players weren't jumping or picking up the right men. I know we do some zonal and some man marking, don't we, at corners? But yeah, a real frustrating one to concede because, as we've alluded to there, the first half went really well for us. And if you had said to me after like half hour when Bell went off, like we're going to be losing this at half time, you just think, nah, surely not. We're playing all right. And yeah, very frustrating one. And yeah, one to look at again on the training ground for what Kaminski does.
Yeah, this is Steve said he would like to have seen Ibby Fuller come on for Bell. I know the argument for not pushing too far too soon for the younger players, but I feel like he would have given them something to be wary of. Ben saying, I'd say over the last few weeks, Tyrese Campbell is starting to show his worth in the side. Little can be said, though, for Leeburn, apart from the goal against Coventry and squaring for Carey chance yesterday, not done enough. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned there, Leeburn did do well in the chance for Carey at the start of the second half. It's interesting. So, I mean, I enjoyed the first half more from us until Bell went off, but actually, when you hear the interview from Nathan, he said we were more like ourselves in the second half. And I've been sort of thinking about that, trying to think what he might have referred to. And my guess is maybe that until the third goal, I feel like there weren't a great deal of chances for them. And then they did hit the post after that. So maybe he felt we were a little bit more solid in that regard. But yeah, that Carey chance started the second half. You know, seasons he's had, you know, you think if he at least gets one on target there and makes Rushworth have to make a save, and he did make a couple of saves yesterday, to be fair to him, but maybe it could be a different game again. It's just a few little moments. The fact we're coming away from a big game like this and say there's a couple of moments where it could have gone differently is definitely a positive, because Stoke on Tuesday and Southampton on last Saturday, if a couple of moments have gone our way, we still would have been absolutely fresh. So there are some things to take from that yesterday, and that start of the second half was okay as well. You know, I think we certainly weren't giving up or anything like that. We had a few moments.
Yeah, I think we did have a few moments, and I think what Nathan's probably referring to is the fact that there were a few occasions where Coventry were pressing high and trying to create something, and the quality of some of their football was excellent. I mean, it was really, really good. It was really patient. There were times where you saw a space open up on the wing, particularly the right side. You expected a cross, but no, they patiently brought it back before they crossed, etc. I think the thing he would have really liked was how solid we were and how determined we were to get that ball clear on the edge of the area. I remember Doc and Cov, no, not so much Cov, sorry, yesterday. It was more so Doc and Lloyd Jones intercepting like what could have been clear-cut chances for them. And that's the Charlton we've seen earlier in the season and prior to this 4-game losing streak. And so I think those sorts of things he would have been really pleased about, because that's Nathan Jones's Charlton returning. It's kind of putting the bodies on the line and being determined not to give them the space for the shots. So I think he probably liked that. Personally, I really liked the first half, and I liked that first half before Bell went off, because that felt like a proper Charlton team of earlier this season, where we were going at teams and taking it to them, albeit in this game on the break more so than kind of like being too front-footed. But I preferred the first half without a shadow of doubt because of that. And I just hope we can combine the two things together when we play a team that is bound to be low on confidence next weekend.
Yeah, Norman says these last 3 games we've conceded goals in little clusters. Saints, it was 4 in 8 minutes, Stoke 2 in 3 minutes, and Coventry 2 in 4 minutes. Is it the concentration levels after conceding? I mean, sometimes when you see little clusters of goals like that, you do worry about confidence or something like that. But hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully these things will stop soon, because that's not what we've been about at all this season, and we just sort of need to get back to that as well. Yeah, Paul saying, surely being a good shot stopper should be the bare minimum for a keeper in the Championship these days. There's so much more to goalkeeping, yet Thomas Kaminski seems to be seriously lacking in other facets. Yeah, I mean, all hell let loose, pointing out that Rushworth claimed a number of corners to help his defenders out yesterday. And like I say, there was some good saves yesterday, but Ben says Kaminski staying on his line is killing us. Mannion would do better with situations like the second goal. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, interesting stuff. I think we've still got loads more to chat about. I want to get to more of your comments, but I think we should hear from Nathan Jones, actually, so you can hear what he made of yesterday's game. This is what the Addicts boss had to say when I caught up with him after the defeat up at Coventry. Pete, in the end here at Coventry, what did you make of it today?
I'm really disappointed with the manner of the goals. And to level of performance, I was relatively happy because there was so many positives from it. You know, first off, we had the majority of the better chances. We had 3-4 chances, had one headed off the line. Even when we made changes in the second half, because we were enforced again, picked up an injury. Sonny Carey has a real good opportunity, and I just think with a little bit more better decision making, then we would have gone in further ahead. Look, we come there, we know it's been a tough week, been a real tough week. Southampton, Stoke away, then the Leaders away. It's been a tough, especially when we're as stretched as we are. But I'm proud of the application. I'm proud of what they've done. And now it's about us. We knew this was going to be a tough week in terms of everything, but now we have to go into December, and we have to stem the tide now and make sure that we come out of December in a significantly better position than we are now. Look, there's a lot of context around that. We've had some tough games, some big sides. With 3 out of 4 away games, which again is very difficult to do. We've been stretched in most departments. So hopefully, 1, we've got to get people back. 2, it's a big month, and we have to make sure that we pick up points this month.
You could see at the start the way you set up against Coventry was working perfectly up until Murray goes off, I guess. Yeah, and then you have to change and so on, and it's tough then. It really, especially against a real good side. But we had chances. I mean, on the counter attack, we've had 4 real glorious chances. We really have. And then we've set play, and we've had headed off the line, and then they score from a set play. And the disappointing thing for me is the goals, because we know how they score. We've done work to combat that, and then the set play goal is a real difficult one for us to take, because that should have been avoidable. But look, these are a side that's flying at the minute. We are a side that's patching up things. So we just have to make sure that we come through this time. There's no sour grapes, no anything I can say, but certain things, a couple of offsides in there that weren't offside when we're clean in, and so on. But we have to now make sure that we stay in it, that we reboot on Monday and go in, because we've got some big games, and games we have to win. Performance level was always going to be important today after the last 2 as well, so I guess you'd be quite pleased with what you got in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and look, we were more ourselves second half. First half, we had a different shape, and we had to, because we can't play Amari as a wing back because of his hamstring. We're having to try to force him back, push him back, because we haven't got, we've got 3 fit defenders effectively, so it's tough. But we're having to patch up the team with lots of different things, and that you can't do that in the Championship, especially when you've just come up from League One. So there's again, there's stuff to be considered, but we can't let that, we can't dwell on that. We've got now a month. We go into December now, and we have to come out of it, because January will give us opportunities to strengthen in the areas we need to, and get people back, because we've got Burke, Kelman, and Josh Edwards hopefully to come back, and Godden not far off in the December period. So we've just got to stay in it in this month.
How was Amari after he came off? Was it sort of like a calculated risk to play him today? Obviously, when he's been injured recently.
Well, it is, because the risk, the bigger risk would have been to play him on Tuesday, but we didn't. We gave him an extra few days. We played him as a full-back, not a wing-back. So again, TC was doing the most of the volume in front. It's just he had a big sprint early on, and then he just felt something. So you can't risk it, because otherwise you could lose him for the thing. But that's where we are at the minute. We are stretched in the defensive department. 3 big players out for us in terms of Josh, Amari and Berkey, so that puts strain on the others. And then when we are in a new league, when we are have come up, and we are in one of the most competitive leagues in Europe, it's tough.
When Harvey came off at half time, and he picked up something in the first half as well, because he was down for a brief period.
Yeah, look, just tight groin in terms of that, hasn't played, and then you have to make it at half time, because if you give him 5 minutes, then you've used 2 subs, and it's thing, and you're going to need your subs. So it's a tough one. He probably just a bit disappointed as well to come off, because he had scored and everything. It's just you have to make these decisions, because at the end of the day, we want to win football games.
So Jerome out there, obviously not part of the squad today, but I mean, how close is he to being ready to be involved?
Well, he'll have minutes on Tuesday, which will get him further up to speed. But look, he hasn't played, and I said that's the situation we have. We're having to take people that, even though he has a wonderful pedigree, hasn't played games, so it's tough. But we have to get ready now, and we have to make sure that we stay in the hunt and stay competitive. And look, it has been a brutal week. It's 3 sides in wonderful form, 3 sides who are have been used to playing at this level and above. So it's been a tough week, but we can't dwell on that. We can't get too down. What we have to do now is make sure that we dust ourselves down over the weekend, come in Monday, and then build into a massively important game at home at the Valley.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Well, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Just heard from the Addicts boss Nathan Jones after yesterday's defeat up at Coventry City. One of the questions I did put to him, Paul, was about how much of a calculated risk it was to play Amari Bell yesterday. Because he said on Tuesday that Amari was in the squad and maybe would have been able to play 10-15. So when I was chatting to people on the train on the way up yesterday, I said, I'll be very surprised if he starts today, because if he could only play 10-15 on Tuesday, then does that mean he's ready to play a bit more? Obviously, I'm not the physio with the red zones and all that sort of stuff that everyone, the people in that industry can talk about. But that was always the danger, isn't it? That if you start him, then something might go wrong. So we have to balance it up, because you can see how much better we are when he's in the side.
Yeah, we were crying out to get a bit of stability in that area of the pitch, and so I suppose Nathan's compelled to do it. Look, the medical team are there to advise. They advise on minutes, but also in terms of where he's at physically. And what the impression I get now, having just heard that interview, is that Nathan isn't saying he's ruptured something or he's torn something. He felt something, and so maybe that is precautionary, and it's a realization that he just wasn't quite as right as the medical team had advised Nathan. And so I mean, it is, all these things are calculated risks. Bree playing when he had that groin issue away from home, I think was it at Wrexham, maybe it was the game prior to, there are calculated risks that are taken, I suspect, by every manager up and down through the leagues. But I'm a bit more comforted now I've heard what was said, as long as nothing serious has happened in his hamstring after that sprint. And that was the trick. I mean, we were playing a really competent side with quite a bit of pace about it, particularly down the sides. And so there was always going to be a bit more of a heightened risk due to those capabilities that Coventry have. But I think it was one worthwhile taking, not least because I think with him in the side, and if Jérôme Roussillon comes good and fit quite soon, and he is a highly competent player, he'll probably be, and I know this is yesteryear, but knowing that player, he will be a cut above probably anything in our squad right now in terms of capability and technical ability. You got the glimpse of us being back to ourselves, is the point, for all that time that Bell was on, and it just gives you renewed optimism that when we get a few of these injuries back, as long as the heads haven't dropped too much after this run of defeats, we'll be fine. We'll start picking up points again, because we'll have the right shape and balance and personnel available to us. So I think that calculated risk was probably worthwhile taking. It proved what we can be like when we have our stronger players back. And let's see if Jérôme is fit sometime soon, because I think he'll make a difference and take some of that pressure off of Bell too.
Yeah. One thing that nearly happened yesterday, I mean, this is quite a nice way of putting it by Norman. As for the ref, after the Bell penalty incident, it felt like a lot of the decisions went in favour of Coventry, which does suggest that the Bell incident maybe went in favour of us, Ben. In real time, I was baffled that he didn't get sent off. And just to give you the flavour of where we sit in the press box, for some reason, not every club does this, but Rotherham do it. and apparently Coventry do it as well. They have a meeting at the start of the season and said, right, let's get our most annoying fans and sit them all right next to the press box so Louis Mendes has to listen to them for 90 minutes. They were ridiculous, like appealing for everything. And so they got Ramsey a yellow card early on. They were appealing for a red card for what should have been a bloody throw-in, like maybe a free kick at best. It was nothing in it. And they were apoplectic when Amari Bell didn't get sent off for giving their player a little friendly headlock inside the penalty area. I mean, it felt to me that we might have just got away with one there, and the Coventry fans around me certainly made their feelings known at that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching on the stream yesterday. I wasn't in the game, so I had probably a better view. And I honestly didn't think it was a pen at the time. I mean, there wasn't much contact with him. It wasn't like, I mean, he had the ball at his where Bell's come across him. Like he definitely touched him, 100% touched him, and his arm came across. So it is dangerous because we do see that given a lot. But I still think if that went to VAR, don't think that's a penalty. I think they had a lot yesterday where the ref did give them free kicks for just falling over and 50-50s, and he thought, oh yeah, that's gone their way. But I haven't seen a replay of it since, actually, because I've just been looking on Sky Sports and our highlights, and I haven't seen any highlights of it, so maybe there wasn't too much more in it. But yeah, you're right. I think, as Norm said there in the chat, I think some of the stuff like that Ramsey tackle, as you said, that was that a yellow card, let alone their fans crying out for a red. Lampard was up and down that touchline calling for more. Yeah, we might have got away with it, but there you go. Amari Bell is that kind of guy that we like in our team that has that sense of calmness, and he seemed pretty calm when that happened. So maybe if it was a Macca or a Ramsey, they might look pretty guilty. And can I have some of my drugs? I think
Sai in the chat is saying, can I have some of Ben's drugs, please? He is up to the eyeballs in knickknacks and know what they're called, Twiglets and Red Bull. Yeah, there's the Twiglet. Oh, he's got the Christmas Twiglets out already. He's the only man who has those all year round, though. To be fair, right, Paul, you mentioned Jerome Roussillon earlier on a minute ago. You seem to have heard of him. I can't say I had before he signed on Friday. So he was there yesterday, but not fit enough to be involved yet. As Nathan mentioned in the interview, they're going to play for the 21s during the week. Last with Union Berlin last season, I've been to Union Berlin's ground on a match day, but I couldn't go to the match because we had to fly home 2 hours later. So we just went to the club shop and soaked up some of the atmosphere. But yeah, what can you tell us about him then? So he's 32 years old. He's a left back. If he was fit yesterday, it felt like it would have been ideal, but yeah, not to be yesterday. How do you know so much about him?
Well, only because I used to play FIFA elite level for about 30 years, and so I knew when you play that game so much, you get to know more the players, and then when you use players in games, you kind of start looking at players actually playing for their clubs and how they're doing and stuff and highlights and all the rest of it. It's all a bit bizarre, different universe type thing. However, I do know technically he's good. He's got a fair bit of pace about him. He was in and around the French under 21 levels for quite a while, so he played through the 18s and 20s from recollection. Didn't make the under 21s, and then he joined up with Guadeloupe. So he's an international player, and he's just technical. I mean, this is a player that's played Champions League games. I mean, he's a really good standard player. The thing that we don't know, and I don't know, is what's happened since he last played in April. So why was he dropped? I have no idea. That could have been a drop of form or whatever. And has he got the sorts of legs that he once had? Unlikely. So the pace would have dropped a bit, but the quality is really there. And I think he is renowned for getting up the pitch from the left back area, so not wing, left back area, and he's got really good crossing ability. So that's his kind of standout points. And I hope that he is fit sometime soon. I think wasn't it mentioned that he's had 3 weeks training so far? That's not the same as game time. And Nathan mentioned Tuesday, so I can only assume there's an under 21s game come Tuesday that he will feature in. But we need a player like him fit and available as soon as possible, because bearing in mind it's a short-term loan, it would seem a bit nonsensical unless Nathan thought that he wasn't that far away from being able to contribute. So I hope he does, and I hope the fans enjoy him, because he's played at Bundesliga level for quite a long time, and he has been a quality player.
Yeah, I mean, my fear is every time we pick up a player who's been out of contract and not had, they always struggle. So let's hope that he can get up to speed soon, and then we'll see where he goes. Norman says that Ben's been eating dodgy Twiglets. All hell let loose is asking where the cheese footballs are. I'm quite pleased that we are now properly in Christmas food season. I just want to take my hats off to the guys and gals over at Marks and Spencer's for their Christmas their turkey club sandwich I had on the way home yesterday. Unbelievable. So if you guys are wondering what to have for lunch today, get down and have a turkey Christmas club sandwich. It was absolute quality. Paul says Rossalon is infamous for missing an open goal. The point conveniently ignored was that he ran from his own penalty area to the opposition 6-yard box in 5 seconds. Well, there we go. So it's a bit pacey then. Well, that'd be exciting to see. Hopefully he'll be able to add something to the side. Right, let's hear from Conor Coventry. Spoke to him yesterday after the game at Coventry, which baffled me. I was so confused. But yeah, this is what Conor made of the defeat up there at the CBS Arena. In the end, here at Coventry, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game. Obviously, come here and they're top of the league, they're flying, and we've obviously had a tough couple of games. So I thought we started the game well. Obviously, took the lead, and then probably just let them grow into the game a little bit too much. It was tough, and we fought, but I think we've got a little bit more to come still.
Yeah, I thought performance-wise, it feels like there was a lot of positives to take from today, especially after the last couple of games. Like you needed at least a performance like that.
Yeah, I think the performance was definitely better. I think there was some elements of it that felt a bit more like us, which we haven't really been at all this last week. So there's definitely some positives. I think I still don't think we was obviously at our best, and I think there's probably an opportunity for us to get something out of that game. But it was definitely an improvement.
How much of a disruption is it when Amari has to go off after he's come back into the side?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you see his sort of calmness on the ball and in defending is massive for us, and obviously we planned for him to be there, and the shape and stuff was it with him there. So it was obviously a disruption running off, but we've obviously got to adapt better still when he does.
Yeah, obviously it's 4 defeats on the row now, but when you have performances like today, does it still give the belief that you can get back into your stride?
I think we have a lot of belief. I think you look at the Wrexham game, could have gone either way, and then obviously the last 3 have been really disappointing, but we played probably the top 2. Obviously I don't know results today, but the top 2, and obviously a Southampton team that just come down from the Premier League. So of course it's really tough, but I think ultimately they're probably not the games that are going to decide our fate this season.
How difficult is it with the amount of bodies missing in the squad at the moment?
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough, and we're missing characters, personalities, and obviously really good players across the pitch as well. And hopefully they'll all be back soon. And obviously we're still growing as a group, and everyone's still getting used to the level. So we're still growing, and I think we'll come good.
So it's like a huge game next week now against Portsmouth.
Yeah, it's a big game. Obviously we're back at home, and we have a great record at home. Obviously barring last week was obviously rare for us at home. So we've got to get back to that and playing how we play at home, and have the belief that we can go and get 3 points.
There you go. That's Conor Coventry after yesterday's game in Coventry, which genuinely, I halfway through asking him the first question, I confused myself. When defeat at Coventry. Yeah, Coventry, right. Yeah, sorry, carry on. But there we go. Yeah, good to hear from Conor. Graham's joined us, says, can Paul change his name to Pam St Clements instead? He's just getting a bit cocky because Welling United won a game yesterday for the first time in 50 years. So that's why he's putting his head above the parapet in today's show. Graham's a big follower of Welling United. But good to see you, Graham, in there. So the next few weeks, Paul and Ben, are massive for us. Both Conor and Nathan mentioned it. I'll just try to get the fixtures up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. So we've got 2 home games coming up now. We're playing Portsmouth next Saturday, 12:30 kickoff, which obviously we'll look ahead to properly nearer the time on Thursday. We've got Middlesbrough coming up. Then that's quite a tricky game. Tricky trip to Birmingham. These 3 fixtures around Christmas again. So we're playing Portsmouth again on the 29th, but before Christmas we've got Oxford is our last home game before Christmas. Then we go to Norwich, who have finally picked up their first home win of the season yesterday as well against QPR. So there's some big games in this month coming up, Ben, and I'm looking at 2 against Portsmouth, 1 against Oxford, 1 against Norwich, all sides sitting below us, I believe, in the table. I mean, that is a very important month for us that's coming up now.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? I think this is where we could get sucked into it. Hopefully not. I'm still, as we've been talking about in the show, still feeling positive because the first half was positive to take yesterday, but we've just got to start getting clean sheets again, haven't we? Starting with this Portsmouth game, we're playing against a side that are really lacking on confidence. I was just reading through their Twitter page and Mourinho's interview after the game, and there's not nice comments about him. Not nice comments about the owners either, really. They're saying that Mourinho has been left with a very small squad, hasn't been able to spend much money. So, yeah, there's a lot of discontent there, and hopefully we can take advantage of that because we have come against some real strong opposition. And we, as I keep mentioning as well, we did come into this league in the last position, like in the final position coming up through the playoffs. So any game will, I know Nathan loves to say it, any game will be hard, but it is, we're coming against better sides. We're coming against sides that, look at Coventry yesterday. They had Thomas Asante out and they had Haji Wright out, but yet they still managed to put very good players out there and obviously score quite a lot of goals. We're not up to that level yet because we haven't been able to assemble a side where we've got enough players, where we've got strength and depth all over the pitch. So, yeah, we will have to look to other players to step up now. But I thought Nibs did that well yesterday. I thought he came on and did that well. But, yeah, hopefully if Jerome or Amari's not too bad, that we can have that same shape we started with yesterday. I thought that was a real good starting block for us and take some positivity from that. But we've got definitely a lot of positivity from our home performances. That's what we rely on. And obviously we've got the whole Pompey hoodoo over them. So we can take a lot of confidence going into our home game against them. And yeah, so look for some positive shoots from that. I'm not trying to be blindly positive, but you got to say our home form is something we can rely on. Having a week off is big as well, because as you said, then we go into Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday again. And that's going to be quite tough, especially against Middlesbrough, who are playing well.
Yeah, I like this from Dutchy. He says the players need to hurry up and have their Christmas party. It worked wonders last season. I mean, our form in the second half of the season. Maybe we should have our Christmas party in the summer and just crack on and then just have a great season after that. Humble Chop says maybe playing the top teams while having the injuries is a good thing, if you can call it that, as we were not really expecting anything out of them. If they were lower teams and we lost, it would have hurt. And actually, I think that's quite a good point, really. You know, if we're going into this month and we still have as many injuries, that would be more important than the last few weeks, even though it has hurt because we've lost some games. But you know, we've lost against the top two in the last couple of weeks. I think Stoke might have dropped down to third or fourth after their defeat yesterday, but you know, and we lost to a Southampton side who are absolutely flying. It's maybe, you know, we can't get carried away when it's been a real tough run of fixtures for us as well, but we do therefore have to make the most of the next one. As Paul says, the fixture schedulers have had their fun. Better times ahead. One thing I was going to mention after yesterday as well, actually, me and Rich on the train home got chatting. There was a couple of blokes. You could tell they're sort of older sort of football blokes. You could tell they'd been to a game, but I couldn't work out where it was. But the guy was really loud, really chatting away, and I knew at some point he was going to ask us what game we'd been to. So I said, "I'm a Charlton fan," and he went, "Oh, rubbish club." I was like, "Where does that come from?" It was only because he got a little further down the conversation and he revealed that he was a Leyton Orient fan. I was like, "Oh yeah." Oozing jealousy, and I looked up their result yesterday and it was perfect. They'd won 4-0 at Burton Albion. I was like, oh, brilliant. Burton Albion can get a mention on the show again then. So and that was their first ever win at Burton Albion, and BBC London tweeted, a little bit of history here, first ever win at Burton Albion. I thought, well done, you guys. Little pat on the head for you guys. You finally achieved something that we, to be fair, struggled with at times when we were in League One, but we did beat them a few times. So yeah. Right, I think we've come to the end of the show, actually. Yeah, we have. We're just in the last couple of minutes. So just a reminder, we're coming up to Christmas, so you can get your Charlton Live mugs at charltonlive.etsy.com. Stuart Wallace is quickly just asking if there's any news on the Leicester points deduction. I think they're doing it themselves. They're giving the EFL an easy way out by just refusing to win any games at the moment. But yeah, charltonlive.etsy.com if you want a Charlton Live mug. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. so you never miss another show. We're going to be back on Thursday, which is when we will look ahead to next weekend's game with Portsmouth, which is an absolutely massive game. So make sure you join us 7 o'clock on Thursday to look ahead to that game. For now, though, I'm going to say massive thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat for all your comments and stuff. We did have an email from McSquared as well, actually. I should mention. He said, as expected as defeat was last, Coventry will be in the Premier League next season. We managed to remain competitive and we didn't collapse like a pack of cards for the third game in a row. So there were some positives yesterday. Paul and Ben, thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah,
Cheers,
lovely to be on. I'm heading down to Deedpole. I'm going for the Pam Sant from now on. Like that.
Good idea. Ben, you're going to change your name to anything?
Put me on the spot. I'm just thinking Paul's name is very close to the Norwich manager's name. So if he's a relation of Philippe.
No.
Well,
No.
Congratulations on your first win yesterday, Paul. Right, we're going to leave it there. I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again on Thursday.
Charlton Live.